What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and we have got a lot to unpack. Now, you guys may remember my last video was actually at Okayama International Circuit in the sim, and the following week was supposed to be Lime Rock, which I did run, but that's part of what there is to unpack. That was then followed by Summit Point Raceway, which unfortunately I did not have the time to run, followed by Alton Park, which once again, I ran that one. And then followed by Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is actually when this video was supposed to come out. It was supposed to be last week that I was supposed to get this out to you guys. But long story short, I did not run Charlotte Motor Speedway because I kind of hate the roval. With that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump into it because we are covering 2 weeks worth of racing in this video. And unfortunately, it is 2 weeks worth of racing that needs to be analyzed. Nothing went the way it was supposed to. So let's go ahead and get right into this, starting with what happened at Lime Rock Park. So, Lime Rock Park, where do we begin? Now, this isn't my first time running Lime Rock Park. As a matter of fact, I did run this in Season 4 of 2021 in the rookie class. That one was ultimately 2 different races, one where my game decided to minimize and I completely wrecked, and another one where I was actually able to qualify and finish in a decent position. As a matter of fact, I qualified 6th, and I ultimately finished that race 3rd. But we're not here to talk about last season and what happened then, we're here to talk about what happened this season. And to start off with, I did not record my screen during quali. Now, I entirely meant to do so, but I just forgot to do so. So what you're seeing here now is just footage of my qualifying that was ripped from the replay of the race, and it was actually the first place things started to go wrong. I ended up qualifying with a time of a 1:02.601, which got me 8th place on the grid. I was really hoping to get in qualifying at least a 1:01.7. That would have put me in a much better position during this race. I wasn't necessarily the happiest person starting in 8th, but I knew I could make up the time if I drove a really good, clean, efficient race. As a matter of fact, I actually ran the first 2 laps very clean, making my way up from 8th to 7th, which isn't a huge jump, but things were looking promising. The problems came when we got to lap 3. As we enter lap 3 through turn 1, I am behind this blue and green car that came up on my inside. The pack is still really close together, and we are only on the 3rd lap out of 20, so I've got some high hopes. But in these first turns, if you just pay attention to the car in my rear view mirror right there, I'm going to come into this turn and at the end we spin. He bumps me in the back, and we completely spin. Now, in unpacking this one, I think it's pretty cut and clear here. Coming into the corner, if you look at my steering input and my throttle, I do come off the throttle almost entirely coming into the corner to slow myself down. I do feel I turned in a little late on that one, which is why I came off the throttle as much as I did, although I do think it was a little aggressive on my part to come off that much. Now, the car behind me, they're behind me. They have no stake in that apex. They're not beside me. They haven't been beside me at any point. They have been behind me the whole time. So coming into that corner, they have to try and adjust for how I take the corner. And they don't. They're carrying more speed than I do into the corner. Now, it is a tricky place to hit the brakes, that's completely understandable, but if you rear end another car in a corner because you're carrying more speed than them, you are the one at fault for doing it. I didn't hit the brakes in the corner, wasn't unexpected. I was actually on the throttle when the instance happened. In the end, it was a racing instance. I don't think he had any intention to ram me. I do believe he failed to adjust to the situation at hand, ended up ramming me, and it took me out of the race. I actually went all the way down to, I believe, 12th position, and I was able to race my way all the way back up to 8th position, and I finished on the same lap as the lead car in 8th place. It did take a hit to my I rating, did not affect my safety rating, which is what I care a little bit more about, and I am pleased with starting 8th and at least finishing 8th after the wreck, although I know I could have done better. Regardless, I was very upset, so the very first thing that I did was I had the time and I ran the immediately following Lime Rock race. I figured I just had experience on the race, it was a bad race, let's go ahead and jump into it one more time and see if we can do any better. Yes, Lime Rock Race 2. I knew I wasn't going to finish on that last one, and I wanted a really good race. I didn't want a race that was just a crash, and then me spending 15 laps catching up only to finish exactly where I started. So this one started off a lot better. To start off with, I remembered to actually record my qualifying session. Now the qualifying session went spectacularly. I was able to get a 101.728, which qualified me for 4th. Now I would have much rather have been 3rd, starting on the inside of the track, but 4th is better than being further back on the field and having to make up more positions. Now I'm focused very much so in this race in making sure that I run a clean race, because less incident points means a higher safety rating, and I'm trying to get to that C rating this season. That is my main focus going into this race, although I'm still going to be competitive and I'm going to try and win it. Now this one, we're going to unpack this one very quickly because, well, it goes from good to bad instantly. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to watch it go through. I want you to pay attention to the blue car that is currently ahead of me, as well as the white car that is in my right rear.
Green flag.
Now as you can see, that is a turn 1 incident if I've ever seen one, and unfortunately that completely took me out of the race. So we're going to start here at the beginning again. As you can see, the race is just about to start. And I had told you guys to look at the blue car ahead of me, and then the white car in my rear right. As we approached the first braking zone, I had seen that the white car was in my rear quarter panel. They had taken that position from me. Now coming into the corner, you can see that the white car actually backed out of that situation. I personally had not seen that. So there's this massive gap right next to me that I could have been on to hold that corner. But I was expecting we were going into this 3 wide, so I was giving plenty of room to the white car that I was expecting to be there. I did realize they were no longer there, but I did not have that corner at that point anymore. Now the blue car, I don't think expected me to be as far over as I was. They probably either did not see the white car, or they saw the white car leave before I got to the corner. What matters in this situation, I was giving it full steering into that corner before the blue car turned into me and hit me. I do not believe the blue car had any intention of hitting me. I believe the blue car just did not understand what I was doing, and what I was doing was based off of information that was no longer relevant anyway. I was definitely playing this corner a lot more cautiously. I didn't want to have 2 races in a row where I was completely taken out. Looking back on this situation, the best thing that could have happened here is if I had taken that corner tighter and stayed on a more consistent line, the blue car would not have hit me. Unfortunately, it wasn't like the last race where I just spun. It was straight into the pits. I didn't really even stand a chance after that. Needless to say, I was a little disappointed because I did far better in qualifying, put myself in a much better position into this race. It was looking very hopeful, but it did not pan out like I had wanted it to. I just had to take the loss on this one. But it's not over. Like I said, I skipped the following week due to inability to get it done, just didn't have time, and we jumped ahead 2 weeks into Alton Park, a track that I'm also familiar with, just like Lime Rock. I had done quite a bit of practice on it. Unfortunately, all of the practice in the world doesn't mean that this race was free of issues either. So Alton Park, that is where we're at now. Alton Park is a track I've got a lot of experience practicing on, although I've never run it in any online races. I did a lot of practice on it, had no issues there in practice, I just continually got faster. As a matter of fact, this race started off really well just like that. I qualified for 2nd place with a time of a 1:54.118, which was 0.096 seconds slower than the 1st place driver. So I was in a really good position and I was looking forward to this race. 2nd place start on the inside of the track here, which means I'm going to be on the inside for corner 1. That's only given that I can beat the other driver off the line or get a little bit in front of them or alongside of them to take that position in the 1st corner. Unfortunately, this race does not start that way. I don't hold position 2 for very long. I lose that and go into position 3. So that's where we're at. We're in a 1-2-3 position and we are pulling away from the group. We've got a good gap on everyone else of the group. I know that I can pass the car that's ahead of me if I can get into the right position, and I'm going to set up to do this right after the chicane because there's actually a blue car that's coming up behind us. I'm not about to let that blue car get behind me and put up any issues, so I want to pass the car that's ahead of me on the next available straight. Yep, you guys knew what this video was about. Something was bound to go wrong. And this one was my most frustrating accident, because although the other 2 were caused by people, and that is frustrating, this one is entirely caused by me, and I knew what happened the second it happened. So let's dive right into this, and I can show you what I did wrong to cause myself to lose this race. Now this one is going to be pretty easy to unpack, because like I said, I knew what happened when it happened, so I know exactly what went wrong. The first factor being that this was actually a corner I was already inconsistent in practice in. The main issue with this was ultimately I got a little bit too far off to the right. I had put the brakes on and dipped my right side right into that dirt, which meant the brakes were no longer doing as good of a job at slowing me down on the right side. So therefore, the left side, which was on the concrete, stopped a lot quicker than the right side, which pulled the car to the left straight into that tire wall. And what I should have done in that situation was come off of the brakes, get back on the concrete, and then go back onto the brakes. It would have messed up the corner initially because I would have broke a little too late, but it would have saved me from the crash. This is a super simple, really dumb mistake that could have easily been avoided had I just been right on my line. Part of the reason I put myself over that far is I was trying to get as far over to go through that corner fast, because like I said, I intended to pass the car in front of me on the next straight, so I needed to get out of that corner with a lot more speed, so I wanted to carry more speed through that corner, because that corner can be fast if you do it right. I just did not do it right. Ultimately, this also ended my race. I went all the way down to last place. I had to get towed out of there. I did ultimately finish last of the drivers that did finish, but I was able to make my way up to 9th place out of all of that, and I did finish on the same lap as the lead car, unlike I did on my second Lime Rock race. So that's where we're at. 3 races in a row that were all crashes. Very unfortunate. It is what it is. I wanted to run another Alton Park race, but I unfortunately did not have time before the week was over, so I only got the 1 race in, and that is where this saga ends. Now hopefully going forward into my next races I won't be seeing issues like this. It's just unfortunate that I had 3 races in a row where I crashed out and finished really far back. I am done with crashes like this, and now we're on a week that I do intend to be doing. Now I don't know if I necessarily will make a video about that. I am going to be going ahead and getting back into the garage, so I won't be doing too much in the sim. The sim is more or less to fill the null time, which unfortunately there was a lot of because all of my footage was just crashes and I didn't know what to do with it for the longest time, and I wasn't running every race every week. Anyway guys, I hope you could learn something from my failure. I definitely learned some stuff from this failure, and I am looking forward to improving it in the future, especially since what I do in the sim will help me a lot in the real car. They obviously don't transfer perfectly, but there's still lessons to be learned in both spaces. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.